Hello, 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 Sure Babe listeners. Welcome back to the Sure Babe podcast. This is episode 27, and it is the first episode of 2019. Phew, I had to take a little break. You know, sometimes in life, you just have to let something go, and I had to not let go of Sure Babe, but I had to just take a little break. And I'm telling you guys that because I think maybe you might resonate and understand, like, maybe there's something in your life that you are like, I can't do it all, and I just have to put pause on something. And I'm giving you permission because I had to give myself permission to do that. So, had to push pause on it and just focus on my family and some other things. But I'm so excited to be back in the guest bedroom recording episodes because I love podcasting. It is something I'm truly passionate about. So today in episode 27, I interview the editor of Parents Magazine, Liz Vaccariello, and I am super excited. It's kind of like a come full circle moment for me because my first job out of college, incidentally, was working at Parenting Magazine. This is back in the day when there was like a handful of parenting magazines. There is only one left on the newsstands, and that is Parents Magazine. So for me, this is just kind of like, wow, this is so cool. I get to actually interview the editor of Parents Magazine and pick her brain about motherhood and working motherhood specifically. So today in this episode, Liz and I talk all about millennial motherhood. We talk about working motherhood, how to balance, and, you know, basically what the myth of that is. We talk a little bit about that. We talk a lot about mom guilt and how to let go of mom guilt. And Liz just shares her story of being a working mom and having twins and how she gave herself permission to not feel any guilt about working. So I really hope you get a lot out of this episode. I know I did. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Without further ado, here is Liz.
Welcome to Sure Babe, a podcast by Chrissy Powers, mother, marriage and family therapist, photographer, and eternal optimist. Sure Babe is all about relationships, motherhood, career, and finding the life you want to live. Get ready, things are about to get real.
Hello, Sure Babe listeners. I am back in my studio today, aka the guest bedroom, and I am so excited today to introduce you to Liz Vaccariello. She is the editor of Parents Magazine. I am like pinching myself right now that I actually get to talk to her. So welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Oh, I am like, this is like, I was telling Liz earlier, this is full circle for me because my first job out of college was working at Parenting Magazine. So I got to read all the parent and parenting magazines in my early 20s. And little did I mean, you know, that's part of my journey and got me to where I am today. But it's just so funny to actually, you know, come back and get to talk to like the editor of Parents Magazine. I feel honored right now.
It's so funny because you read Parents before you were a mom.
Exactly.
And when I was a mom, when my girls were very little, I didn't read Parents Magazine, which is so crazy because now that I find myself the editor, I can't tell you page after page, story after story. I think, God, I wish I knew this. God, I wish I'd read this way back when.
Oh, yes. It's such a valuable resource for parents, and not to mention that it's like just gorgeous and visually aesthetically pleasing. So I always value that with it too.
Thank you.
So Liz, why don't
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about who you are aside from being the editor, and actually like what you do at the magazine? Because sometimes I think we don't always know like what an editor does.
Okay. I am the editor-in-chief of Parents, which is probably the only national parenting magazine left standing. There used to be many: American Baby, Fit Pregnancy, Parenting. Parents Magazine is 90 years old, 90 plus years old. And so we are, the last major parenting media business that has a magazine print component to it. I've been editor for the last 2.5 years, and I think I'm only like the 7th editor-in-chief in the history of Parents. It has, there have been some wonderfully talented and quite frankly legendary women's magazine editors who've come before me that have given this brand such the credibility that it's always had with moms. I meet moms all over the country, and then their moms and their moms' moms, and they all say to me, Parents was my Bible. Parents was my Bible. And it's funny because I'm also a mom, obviously, but my girls now I have twin girls, identical twins, and they are 14 years old. And so by the time I got to Parents, which really focuses on, infant to 8, our sweet spot is infant to 5-year-olds. But, a lot of our readers hang on with us when they have second children. And, we have a lot of stuff that is applicable to school age kids as well. So I live in the suburbs of New York City. I live in New Jersey. And I've always been a working mom. I was in magazines when I got pregnant. I was working for Fitness Magazine. And then after my maternity leave, I came back and, to a pretty hefty job at Prevention Magazine as well. So I've always been a working mom, and I feel like I'm just kind of blessed by having two things that I love so passionately. One is a career doing what I love, helping people, inspiring people, whether it's health or parenting, and then also being a mom to these incredible children. And I have, every day is a joy, and I have a passion and an understanding for our readers in that those early years that were so challenging, so rewarding, but so challenging, and they were exhilarating, but exhausting. They were chaotic, but, full of love. I mean, almost every emotion you can think of comes up in your life in these integral first 5 or 6 years of your child's development. So if I can say to her, I can create content, create a magazine that says to her, it's going to be okay, and you're doing a good job. Hang in there. You've got this, Mama. I feel so rewarded because I wish that I had been paying attention to that message too. I felt so overwhelmed and alone in those early years. And if only I'd read other magazines other than the ones I worked for at the time.
Wow. Yeah. You just said my life right now. You just explained it. It's beautiful and chaotic and so challenging. And I was just going to ask you, how did you prioritize your family during that time? Because you still were working, which is often something that I struggle with is how do I prioritize my family or, for lack of a better word, balance it. I do not believe balance is actually totally attainable in motherhood. I feel like the one day you feel like you have it, then the next day you don't. I don't know. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. What was it like in your early days, with raising small girls, from, I hear 0 to 5 is the hardest time in motherhood.
It is physically, I think it's the hardest because of the sleep and the need to constantly be on, even when they're toddlers, you can't sit down. If they're up, you're up behind them. It's interesting. I agree with you, Chrissy. Their balance is this made up word that I think has been an albatross around mothers, working mothers in particular, but all mothers' necks for generations. There is no such thing because being a mom, being a parent is the kind of job where it's possible to never turn it off. It's possible to never feel like you've done all you absolutely could. And so you constantly have to, I call it sort of recalibrating. You're never going to find that perfect, I've done just enough momming, I found just enough time for me, and I've done just enough work everything is always going to need and want more from you. So the first thing that I was capable of doing, and I don't even know how I came to this realization, but I realized I felt so on the edge in those early years that my instinct was to do what worked for me. Mm-hmm. And by that I meant I didn't let myself or buy into the idea of working mom guilt. I loved my career and I loved going to work, and I didn't give myself a hard time that I found joy in going to work, that I welcomed Monday morning because it gave me a break from the, 2 days previous to that, I was doing this one thing and now I got to do something else. And I didn't let myself feel badly about that. I also didn't let myself feel badly about taking care of my own health and my own sanity in terms of sleep and in terms of exercise. And I remember at the time I was editor-in-chief of Prevention Magazine, which is a small health magazine for older women. Mm-hmm. But I interviewed Michelle Obama, the first lady at the time, and I asked her about health and happiness. And she very eloquently talked to me about how she knew that she could not be a good wife, she could not be a good mother if she did not take care of herself, that her mother didn't model that behavior for her, that she had to learn that for herself, that she needed to find that it was worth the money of a babysitter or to ask a parent to help out so that she could take an aerobics class 5 nights a week. Like that was not that it was okay, but it was almost a must-have. So I cut myself some slack about knowing that I was giving everything the amount of effort and time that it needed and that I could possibly give it. So when I would get home from work, I made sacrifices, believe me. And I would say the two sacrifices that I made most knowingly, and when I look back, it was television and girlfriends. Mm-hmm. Because I was so committed to my job, I was like, look, if I'm not at work, I'm going to be home with the kids. And if I'm not home with the kids, I'm out like taking a walk or going to the gym or something, or, having a date with my husband. But, I was not one to be able to spend a lot of time with a girl squad or go on girl getaways. Those things fell away for a few years. And I knew that they'd come back, and the friendships that didn't require a heavy time commitment from me survived. And that's what worked for me. Other people, once they left work, they would leave work at work. I would come home, and if my children were awake, if the girls were awake, and I'm talking about those early, 0 to 5 years, if they were awake, then I was with them. I was feeding them. I was playing with them. We were hanging out. I was doing that. But the minute they went to sleep, I would, do a little more work or go to sleep myself. It was okay to forego a perfectly clean house. It was okay to not call 3 girlfriends every night. And it was okay to not be up on the Game of Thrones. You can't do it all. Yeah. So that's a very long answer to a very complicated question, but it's just sort of an example of it worked. That balance worked for me.
Yeah, you can't do it all. I love that you just gave yourself permission. I feel like even you sharing that story gave a lot of moms listening permission to focus on themselves sometimes. And I feel like we need that. Mm-hmm. And I identify with that. I don't always feel like I had the best. My mom was incredible, but I even interviewed her one time and said, what do you wish you could have done differently in motherhood? And she said, I wish I would have spent a little bit more time on myself. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting that she can see that now, that motherhood has kind of evolved in a way where we realize we cannot fill our children up if we are not filled up ourselves. So
right. And I think particularly moms today, because they're, if you look sociologically at millennial moms and Gen Z moms, they're so they're so serious and they're so focused and they're so good at optimizing. They were good students, right? So if they decide to do something, they do it well. And so they put this pressure on themselves. Okay, it's time for me to become a mom. I'm going to get an A+ in this mom thing. And so they read every book and they, and so everything that they do let slip that they can't possibly optimize, they feel terribly about it. Like not every meal is home cooked, or whatever the thing, whatever the bar is that they set in their own mind. It's very difficult, I find, for moms today to cut themselves that slack. I think it skipped a generation. I think our parents didn't, and then for a few years some did. Like I think maybe the boomer or the Gen Z parents kind of pulled back a little, and now I find this generation of moms feels this enormous pressure to spend as much time with their children as they possibly can, and all of that time has to be quality time.
Right.
That's an impossible bar.
That's impossible. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that defines mom guilt for me. I'm like, you're right. We're like a highly educated generation. We are reading these parenting books. We're trying to be the most perfect, positive parents, and we're not going to be perfect, and we're not supposed to be perfect. And I was just having this conversation with my therapist of all people, and she said, if you are perfect, that is the wrong example for your children, then that doesn't give them permission to mess up. And I was like, oh, you're so right. They need to see us fail. Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to think about it.
Yeah, it really
that you're not modeling reality for them.
Exactly. It's such a beautiful thing that we take parenting so seriously. I think that I love that about our generation, but I also feel like we're in the Pinterest era where everybody sees like all the perfect crafts and recipes and things like that. And we have put that pressure on ourselves to be perfect or to be a certain type of parent. When really we just need to be the parent that our kids need individually. Yeah.
Right. And the moments too. I think it's important to think about moments and not all time as one block. Like, so for parents, for moms or dads who work outside the home, and then they come home and they feel like, okay, I've got 3 hours to spend with my children. Every minute of that, I have to be reading to them, or I have to be doing something to work towards the next milestone, or should we be speaking Chinese to one another, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay to make, that is an impossible bar to set for yourself. You also need time to frankly chill out in front of The Bachelor. Like that is as healing for you. And it's okay if the child is even awake and is just playing quietly by themselves, or you're cuddling with them, or maybe you're on your phone for a few minutes of that, time that you're spending crawling around on the floor with them. You look at your phone. That's okay. That is okay. I have visions of my mother smoking a pack of cigarettes while I was like, if you look back on parents, like we all moms are just doing the best that they can given the information that they have now. I feel like the fact that there's so much information now about how to be a good mom and what our kids need, that it's overwhelming, and it sets an impossible standard.
Right. Yeah. And I just like how you gave yourself permission. And I get asked a lot, like, how do you deal with mom guilt, or how do you get rid of it, so to speak? And it's, I think for some people it's just it's just going to happen, and you have to accept it and say, okay, well, what is this feeling? Is this guilt, or is this like a signpost that I need to, maybe I do need to put my phone down more because I value time with my kids, or maybe I didn't feel good about yelling, and that means I'm really, I really care about my children, and I need to talk to them in a different way. So I like to say that guilt is like usually all emotions are just signposts to what, like a message we need to either hear. But I think particularly mom guilt, like you just said, I gave myself permission to do what I love, and I
Yeah.
think that is so freeing, and I think a lot of women and moms this generation need to hear that you have permission to do what you love, and as long as you are loving your children, they will be okay.
That's right. That's right. And I loved what your therapist said to you, because if you frame it, if you frame it that way, what are you modeling for your child?
Right.
It frees you up to be imperfect. It frees you up to, would you want to raise a child that believes that they could never take a nap, or that they could never just lay on the sofa and stare out the window, or play a game of solitaire on their phone? Like, these things, scientifically, we know that these things are good for the brain. They're good for learning and development and creativity, resting the mind. And so if you frame it as modeling a good lifestyle, a balanced lifestyle, modeling putting yourself first for your children, that's helpful to get to dissipate some of the guilt.
I like that. Let's talk about postpartum, because I feel like this moves easily into that, because I know I experienced this, especially after my third baby was born in July of last year. I kind of felt like, okay, you're done being pregnant. Now you need to resume life as before, and you need to be just as productive as before. And now you just need to be stronger because you have 3 children now. And I just kept I don't know where I got that message, but maybe it was just me, my personality and my internal drive. But I feel like it wasn't until recently that I kind of realized I put a little bit too much on my plate during postpartum time. And I was like, gosh, I really hope I didn't make any other women feel that they need to do as much as I did.
Are you talking physically? Are you talking about like physical strength and weight loss and
everything?
Sleep?
I'm talking about
yeah,
weight loss. I know that's a huge thing. I'm getting back into your pre-pregnancy pants, but also work, work and being the mom that I was to my other children before, when really it's like you are dealing with so many emotions and physically healing. All of the above. What are your thoughts on this postpartum time?
Well, it's so loaded, because like in so many families, the mom is the sun, right? And so she has 1 child, 2 children, 3 children. Those are like the planets, right? And so if she dims, she feels as if she dims, all the planets suffer. And what really happens is that you can't sustain feeding making sure your own world is spinning in its proper axis. You can't sustain that now that you have 3 planets that are pulling on you. So you got to get another sun. I don't know where I'm coming up with this metaphor, but this is like so it's like, and your partner should be that sun. And I'm not talking about just changing the diapers. I'm talking about the mental load as well. Oh, I'm talking about the mom, the son of the family, if you will, who's thinking about the play dates and the pediatrician appointments and signing up for camp in February. Like, oftentimes the mother is the one who carries what we call that mental load. I would encourage all moms, all parents, to make sure that their partner, if they have one, is carrying as much of that as possible, that it's truly 50-50, because that frees up a part of you to nurture yourself as well. Yeah. And then also, you're not the same person that you were before. The body, the mind, hormonally, think of what you've created. Like, just if looking at your children, you think, my goodness, of course there is a price to be paid. Of course, my body, this vessel, has had to change because of it, and will never be the same. And I really wish that even if the body, even if the size of the pants goes back to what it was, the shape changes. Just the way your heart changed when you became a mom. You're still the same kind, hardworking, smart person that you were before, but didn't your heart grow 3 sizes the minute you had a child?
Yeah.
So just the way your heart and your emotions grow and change and adapt and are never the same. The same goes for the body. And I guess if we frame it that way and think of it in that positive way, like, what is this new body? What can it do? What should it do? Maybe it needs 8 or 9 hours of sleep, and before it could get on with 6. But maybe now it's tired. Think what it's been through. Think what it's doing and has to continue to do.
Yeah.
Maybe carve out the time for the sleep.
Yeah. I think that's just so good to hear too, because I think a lot of women need to. It took me someone else to say, "Hey, this is a sacred time. This is sacred, and you need to appreciate yourself and your body for what it just did, and just be patient." And and I think that, so if you're listening and you're anything like me, just I thrive off productivity and just being creative and getting things done, but I had to be okay with what you said earlier, having the messy house and just not having expectations on myself. Because
right. I remember in terms of the body, in terms of fitness, I'll talk about this a little bit, because when I had the girls, when they were born, I was the executive editor of Fitness Magazine, which is no longer, but it's like Shape Magazine today, right?
I used to read that.
And prior to, so prior to having the girls and during the pregnancy, I remember being so proud of the fact that I spent 10 to 15 hours a week exercising. I would go for a run, then I'd take this strength training class, and then I took yoga on Saturday, and then I also walked 2 miles to work sometimes, blah, 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 blah. So the minute you have a child, everything's a choice. You can continue to work, and you can continue to be a triathlete. You can continue to work out 12 hours a week if you want, if that's a priority and a passion for you. And for many women it is. But if it's not, and in my case it wasn't, then you have to redefine how you're going to optimize your exercise time. So I was still a Fitness Magazine. I had this twin baby weight I had to exercise off. I felt I wanted to get my old strength back. But yet I had maybe 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours a week that I was willing to hire a babysitter, go to a gym, And because when I was at work, I couldn't take those hour-and-a-half lunches to go to, this class or that class, because I needed to get my job done so I could get home and relieve the babysitter, right? And so I changed what I did. I went from all this cardio and blah, blah, into strength training. I realized that what I loved most about fitness was feeling strong, physically strong, muscularly strong. And so I spent those 2 to 3 hours a week lifting weights for a few years. Now I've gradually gone back to doing more cardio as I have more free time. But for a few years that worked for me. So I still got the self-care of feeling strong, and that box was checked. But it was different. My body was different, and what I needed from it was different. And I certainly didn't have time to, quote, balance my old fitness routine with my new life.
Right. Oh, that's so clear for me, because it's like you said, optimize your time. And I do the same thing right now. I think HIIT workouts are really big. That's the high intensity interval trainings. And it's like, you can do 20 minutes of that and get as much, benefits from that as you would if you did like a 4-mile run, and I am
fabulous research.
Isn't that awesome? So,
that's such a gift to moms.
It's such a gift. So we're at home workouts, YouTube, all those things on your computer.
Oh yeah.
Do it during, tummy time. It's just, I think we have a wonderful gift in the internet these days to find that optimal exercise
absolutely
time. Well, in closing, I want to know, what do you think moms these days need to hear most?
You're doing a great job. I don't care what you're doing. If you love your kids, if you love your children, and you make decisions that come from that place of love for yourself and for them, you're doing a great job. And it doesn't matter if you give them a Cheeto or take them to McDonald's or nap when they're napping or look at your Instagram while they're eating their breakfast. It's okay. You love them, and there is no perfect standard. Do not look at the ideal that a lot of the so-called mommy influencers are putting up in their perfectly curated Instagram pages. Embrace the chaos, embrace the mess, embrace the imperfection of it all. Learn to laugh at it and know that you're doing a great job.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that message. Thank you so much for your time, Liz, for encouraging all of
my pleasure.
all the Sure Babe listeners. It was so good to have you.
Oh, my pleasure. Good luck to you and those 3 beautiful kids.
Thank you so much.
Whew, that was so good for me to hear, and I hope it was encouraging to you as well. We will be having some more marriage podcasts and relationship topics coming up, so send us some of your questions and ideas of things you want to hear Sam and I talk about. And if you are loving what you're hearing, we would totally appreciate you guys leaving us a review on iTunes. Only if it's 5 stars, of course. No, but really, we do appreciate you guys. We really want to cater to our listeners, especially this year. We're focusing on the things that you guys want to hear, the things that are making an impact on your life and just making life easier for you. So reach out to us. ChrissyPowers.com, at ChristyJPowers on Instagram. Leave me a message in either place, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, Sure Babe listeners. This is the first episode of 2019. And wow, it took me a few months to get it up, but I am so excited to share this episode with you. This is episode 27. And you know what? It is going to rock your world because I think it's what every mom needs to hear. It's what every parent needs to hear. So if you're a dude listening, thank you for listening to the Sure Babe podcast. And also, you'll get something out of this too because parents these days usually share the equal roles. I know Sam and I do. But if you guys need help with letting go of mom guilt, this episode is for you. I get to interview Liz Vaccariello from Parents Magazine. And we talk all about millennial motherhood, working motherhood, and how to let go of mom guilt. Basically, Liz shares her story of how she had twin girls and still kept working and gave herself permission to not feel mom guilt. She's got tons of other tips and advice for us parents out there these days. And I just think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. So I'm super excited you're here. Stick with us. And without further ado, here is Liz. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, Sure Babe listeners. This is episode 27, and this is the first episode of 2019, y'all. I am so sorry. I had to take a little hot break for a second because, life as a mom with 3 kids is just as challenging as everybody told me it would be. But you know what? It's still good. It's still worth it. And it just takes longer to do things. So I appreciate you guys so much for just still listening to Sure Babe and sharing about it. It always warms my heart and keeps me going. So thank you guys so much for all of that. Today on the podcast, I have Liz Vaccariello. She is the editor of Parents Magazine. Y'all, I don't know how I got to interview Liz, but I did. And I am so excited about that because she has so much advice for millennial moms. They need to hear this. You need to hear this. You're doing a good job. But Liz just tells you in this episode her story of how she had twins and still went to work and survived those young years of motherhood and also working, and how she gave herself permission to not have mom guilt. Oh my gosh. If you take anything away from this episode, I think that might be the nugget of wisdom we all need. Let go of mom guilt and how to give yourself permission to do so. So I hope you enjoy this episode and get as much out of it as I did. And thank you so much for supporting Sure Babe. If you guys have questions or topics, head to my blog, chrissypowers.com, and send me a request through there, or you can find me on Instagram at ChrissyJPowers. So be sure to hashtag SureBabePodcast, keep sharing about it, and let me know what's resonating with you guys. All right, without further ado, here's Liz.